NBA lives. When you start peppering other guys in, it doesn't always feel the same way.
Hey, Kirk's here.
Cool.
Hey, Kirk Henderson.
Whoa.
How are you, man?
Oh, we've had better days, months, weeks, years,
Seasons.
Just to give you a heads up, we're at commercial on the radio side, but you're live on the stream right now.
Cool.
So people can see you. How are things non-basketball edition? A lot of thumbs downs. All right. We're kind of in the same boat out here in the 916. So
everything's covered in pollen. I feel like I'm quacking more than I'm talking.
Yeah. I mowed my lawn the other day. I did a bunch of yard work and did not wear a mask while doing so. And it just took me out the rest of the day.
Well, I made the adult mistake of getting Taco Bell about an hour ago, and I went out to my car, put my hand on the car, took my hand off my car, and it was yellow from the pollen. Like, this is like, come on.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
That's funny.
What'd we get at Taco Bell, though? That's the big question.
The one near me still somehow makes the legendary chili cheese burrito from days of yesteryear. Yeah. So
what?
It's like $3.50, which feels like a crime against humanity, but I will order it.
That's the new storyline.
That's
big time.
That's amazing. If you've ever taken a cross country trip and stopped at different places along the way, it's amazing how regional food is. Like even at McDonald's, Taco Bell, whatever. They always have something on the menu. You're like, oh, wow, look at that.
Weird.
Right.
Like the McRib was so huge, and it never goes away. Like in Texas and like.
Is that true? You get year-round McRib?
I think it depends on pork prices. Like McDonald's will zero in when pork is really cheap, and then they'll bring it back.
Sure.
Here we get it every 4 years.
Economics of fast food. Brought to you by ESPN.
The chili cheese burrito was a staple of when I could just burn calories. And so when I saw it, I was like, I have to make this terrible choice.
I love this for you. No, this is great. I love that for you so much. When they brought back the Mexican pizza, it was a moment for me. Because that was the go-to growing up.
Yep, that's the best item on the Taco Bell menu.
Yeah, and then it went away, and then they brought it back.
Oh yeah,
but then they ran out because it was so popular. Loved it, the Mexican pizza. Shout out to Taco Bell.
Shout out to Taco.
We got about a minute here.
Shout out to Taco Bell.
Kirk,
you were not at Nico's thing yesterday, right?
No, as my wife asked me yesterday, she's like, "So I see you didn't get the invite." I was like, "Well, no." Like the transcript is peppered, and my read on it is they very clearly tried to pick out, or Nico tried to pick out friendly media outlets, including some people that I just don't think go to Mavs games. There's one article from an outlet here called D Magazine, and the guy wrote an article. Let me see if I can find it, because it's got the best headline. I was at the exclusive Mavs media roundtable. It was more awkward than I imagined.
We're coming back. We're coming back. Hang on 1 second.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Ham's there. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil behind the glass. If you follow one person who covers the Mavs, make it Kirk Henderson. He's our guest now. Mavs Moneyball. He writes there. He does a podcast, Pod Maverick, a Dallas Mavericks podcast. Kirk, we were just talking about the Nico Harrison Invitational press conference, and you were not there. But why did they do this?
So I got wind of this about pushing 3 weeks ago. That they were going to do a behind closed doors, invite only tier 1 media, which is essentially the people when COVID happened, they grouped media off and they basically shoved a bunch of people that they didn't like up into a different tier, which fair enough. And this was supposed to be something that happened before Luka Doncic's return. It was delayed for whatever reason. I have a strong feeling, though nothing to back this up on, that Nico Harrison was attempting to do what children do, which is put off their homework as long as possible. And instead of bundling this and getting all of his idiotic comments out of the way before Luka came, he decided to restart the news cycle yesterday with this press conference, and it was. Have you guys read the transcript? It's
some of it.
This is approaching like politics level bad, where it just like give the man a shovel and he finds a way to dig new holes. I'm just impressed with how much he can't read the room.
Was it you that posted the screenshot of the interaction with Tim McMahon?
It's out there. The local
brutal.
news. Yeah, it's real bad. Tim started off the press conference basically just saying, why shouldn't the owner fire you?
Unbelievable question.
Which, and he just, Harrison, by my read of things, I don't really think he's a jerk or anything like that. I believe that he can't understand why people are so in arms over this. It's not that he doesn't want to, it's just he doesn't get it. Ignoring the fact that all of his reasons are really not steeped in any sort of actual logic, which is what McMahon kept pressing him on. If defense wins championships, the Mavericks had the best defense down the stretch and then played very well into the playoffs. Their problem in the finals was it was the whole everything. Boston was better than them. Like that's the actual challenge. But and I think he's just sort of decided to, my understanding, frankly, is that he had decided before the playoffs last year that he wanted to trade Luka Doncic and was looking for a way. This goes back far. This is reading Tim McMahon's book and the situation, this is a situation where Nico Harrison decided he wanted to trade Luka Doncic and then looked for a reason to do so.
All right. So the reason to do so, I mean, we're still left kind of befuddled with what the reason is. And not only that, but why did you trade him for like pennies on the dollar?
Oh, he actually believes Anthony Davis is a better basketball player. I mean, there's like a litany of reasons why Nico Harrison deserves to be fired. He 100% believes Anthony Davis is the better basketball player. It's why it did not occur to him to go get Austin Reeves as well or any other draft picks, why he essentially settled for a trade package involving Max Christie, who's a fine role player on a decent contract, and a 2029 first. He thinks Anthony Davis is better than Luka Doncic. The end.
That's disqualifying for his job.
Oh, I mean, that's what made the press conference yesterday so amazing. He just continued to utter disqualifying statements. He was pressed a little later about the Quentin Richardson trade, and he said, I believe that who did he even trade for? One of the twins. Sorry, my brain's not. Yeah, he said I believe that Caleb Martin's a better basketball player than Quentin Grimes, is essentially what his take boiled down to. Like I understand that basketball is a team game and things got to fit together, and sometimes you have to have role players, but these are just the sort of things where he has his belief system, and it's very unfortunate that Mavericks fans, myself included, are paying the price for the fact that he just starts, his basis points are wrong. And I really honestly, the further this goes, I don't expect him to have a job. Whether they do it before the draft or sometime next year, he can't continue to lead this team.
Kirk Henderson, Mavs Moneyball, and Pod Maverick, a Dallas Mavericks podcast. Is it okay if we shift gears and try and talk basketball?
Oh yeah, there's a game tonight.
And I'm not being flippant. Like I genuinely, because I follow you and all the great work you guys do at Mavs Moneyball. And it feels really difficult when talking about the Mavericks. And we've tried to do this today, but we're trying to talk Mavs. And it's like, how do you get around the elephant in the room?
Well, if we focus on the actual basketball, what ends up happening is that you relate it back to the trade, but you can talk to the basketball itself. The Mavericks, I think, are 13-20 since the trade. So for all their talk of defense, they give up something like 60 points per game in the paint, which is 30th in the league. They are a disaster. And so Domantas Sabonis, who historically has, let's just be charitable and to Anthony Davis and say Domantas Sabonis has caused him some problems. All of these things balling together, like if Sabonis has a really big game, it's gonna look really bad because you can't come out and give a lecture where I think he uttered the phrase defense wins championships in this press conference. Nico Harrison did like between 8 and 10 times. And I think the Kings are going to score 130 tonight. So what are we talking? What is it? It's all related, and you can really get back to the basketball. The Mavericks are the injuries have really hit the team hard. I've got to be honest about that. But then even before the injuries, they had expected Kyrie Irving to sort of deal with a massive workload, which isn't fair to a player of both his age and quite literally his size. You know, I know what he's listed as, but if he's 6 foot and 175 pounds, then that would shock me. I mean, he is a slight man and an incredible athlete, but he was the only person on the team other than Spencer Dinwiddie who can get the ball to the rack. And I guess there's Najee Marshall too, but he's more of a forward. So what we'll end up seeing tonight is a Mavericks team that has a pretty good back line, but their guards are just not capable of matching up with anybody that the Kings have from a scoring perspective. And so it really doesn't matter that PJ Washington, Derek Lively, and Anthony Davis are capable of sort of patrolling the paint, to where if the Kings actually get going from three, if Levine is having one of those nights that he's capable of having, this could be one of those games where the game, it's similar to the Hawks Magic game last night where it's over by halftime.
Okay, we're talking to Kirk Henderson from Mavs Moneyball. My question is, how do they set up their offense? Because, you know, it does make sense to have Anthony Davis and even like the pick and roll players with Lively and Gafford and even the pick and pop player with PJ Washington when you've got Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving. Now that you don't have either one of them and they don't really have a point guard at all, like how do they get into their offense and how will this work?
It's been really ugly, but at times it's worked reasonably well. The big motions that the Mavericks do, where Anthony Davis is more of a distributor, have actually been quite effective. He's his passing. It's not that it surprised me, but I've not seen enough of it. The challenge becomes PJ Washington, to be quite honest. PJ Washington is a 4. He's not a 3. He's a 4 who can occasionally hit threes, and they've really neutered him in a way that's very disappointing, because of all the players on the Mavericks roster, I think he's the one that sort of fits the, okay, maybe we can build around him. Like, he's not a super duper star, but he's a solid player, and I really appreciate both his effort on both ends of the floor. He's grown his game enough, but he's just ends up being the odd man out sometimes, where if his 3 ball's not going, he is pretty rough. The big man rotation with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively is very hit or miss. Derek Lively's not looked good since coming back from his injury, which is not entirely surprising. Ankle, stress fracture, things like that. The guards, the X factor for me is if Spencer Dinwiddie is having one of those nights. He occasionally just gets really too big for his britches. Actually gets too big for his britches every game, but sometimes it really works out for him. He is an absolute master at the garbage foul. Like, you will scream at your television watching this guy getting to the line, where he just does some things where it's like, how did that defender bite on that? Yeah. And then, so if that's working out well for him, that tends to open up the Maverick offense a little bit, because he's a willing shot taker. But if you look at his just sort of, if you were to go down his game log, he has some games recently that don't make a lot of sense, where he'll take 4 shots in 29 minutes. And then in another game, he'll take 17. It's like, what are we doing?
That's some next level Zach LaVine stuff right there.
That's a big time.
And so to answer your question about how do they get into the offense, I mean, it's odd and it will be ugly. And I'm not really looking forward to it.
Okay, so I'm glad you said. I'm not glad you said that, but I am, because I what's the vibe from Mavs fans for this game? Is it just a get this season from hell over with? Is it, hey, let's sneak into the playoffs with this group, it'd be fun? Where Mavs fans landing for tonight?
That's a tough one, because I think so many of the casual fans have abandoned ship. A lot of hardcore fans really do enjoy the basketball itself, as they should. And so I think that fans would like to see the basketball continue as long as it can, but it's like what we let off the segment with. When you have the specter hovering over everything, it makes the actual basketball difficult to enjoy until you're actually watching it. I mean, that's been my deal covering it game to game, where I really can't stand talking about this team, and then I'm watching the games. I'm like, you know what? I like this because I like basketball. Right. I mean, a 10 seed I don't think has ever come out, so I don't necessarily think it matters. But when watching last night's play-in and watching Memphis just sort of, that was just a was the Seinfeld slap fight of a basketball game, and I think this one's going to be fairly similar, where it might be an instance of who has the ball last. I still that one of the defining games of the season for the Mavericks was the DeMar DeRozan game winner over the Mavericks. Do you remember that? I absolutely love that play because he took like 37 steps. It was just so funny to watch, but it was so cool looking that I didn't notice it till down the road. And so maybe we'll get one of those games where it's a barn burner, because if neither team is all that effective at defense, then sometimes you can actually get some pretty watchable basketball.
Oh, fingers crossed.
We're talking to Kirk Henderson from Mavs Moneyball. Kurt, when you're looking at the way that this game may play out tonight, what is the one way in which you think the Mavericks can come away with a win?
I think the X factor, the aforementioned Spencer Dinwiddie coming out and putting north of 20 points is going to be the way things go. Najee Marshall's been a very consistent, if you haven't watched Najee Marshall's game recently, he's a remarkably skilled player, and you'll watch him and all of a sudden he'll have 18 points. You're like, well, how did that happen? Yeah. Maybe Klay Thompson getting hot. People don't really talk about this, but Klay Thompson's last game as a Warrior was against the Kings last year, where I think he went 0 for 10 from 3. And you have to think he wants that back, some element of that back, maybe him getting going. But he's been really when he's on, he looks great. But when he's off, it's like, ooh, brother. So those two guys kind of being playing above how they've played more recently is kind of where I would go. There's a recent signee, Brandon Williams. He played for the G League affiliate, but didn't play that much. He actually spent most of the year with the Mavericks. Mavericks signed him to a contract once they were able to at the end of the year. He's a fun little spark plug, little guy. Not quite in like the ye old Yogi Ferrell type, but just that kind of small guy gonads, and it just like you love watching guys like that. So I think if any of those guys were to get going in a tangible way, you'd see everything else follow, because Anthony Davis will do what he does. His jumpers will either fall or they won't. And then everybody else, just kind of gets their buckets in the course of the game. So that's how I see it going the Mavericks way if it were to.
Last thing real quick, Kirk. You mentioned Anthony Davis's jump shots falling, and I admittedly I'm not locked into 48 minutes of Mavs basketball every night, but the bits I did watch, it did feel like he was taking more jumpers than usual. Is that just anecdotal? And it just
I think his dirty secret as a player since like 2020, if we're being candid, is the fact that when his jump shot is going, he looks like a top 5 player on earth. When his jump shot is not going, he looks like probably top 25, because he's still very impact. The impact is still there defensively. When the jump shot goes, that allows his drives to get going. When he forces action to the rim, he looks awkward. He'll make some shot attempts where it's like his shoulders aren't square or doing anything on the drive, and it looks like he's baiting for the foul. And that's just not his game. He's a skillful player, but when the skill isn't necessarily translating to baskets, his game slowly tightens up and he becomes a disaster.
Oof. All right. Well, looking forward to the game tonight. Thanks, Kirk, for hopping on with us, man. Keep doing great work at Mavs Moneyball. Keep doing great work at Pod Maverick, Dallas Mavericks podcast. And we'll hope to talk to you soon, man.
Have a good day, guys.
See you, Kirk. Thanks.
Good luck tonight.
Kirk Henderson, Mavs Moneyball. One of the best. I'm dead serious, dude.